Grace and peace. Apostle Cheryl Richardson here with Jesus Word Domestic Violence Awareness Initiative. We are going to be talking today about what every congregation, no matter what the faith, what every congregation needs to know about domestic violence. I'm going to give you a couple of seconds to tap that subscribe button and to make sure that you tap that bell icon so that you get notifications for our weekly video uploads. And we'll be right back. And we're back. So today we're going to be talking about what every congregation needs to know. One alarming fact that I've learned as I've continued to advocate for domestic violence victims is that domestic violence occurs with greater frequency within households of faith than outside of households of faith. That there's a greater frequency is just mind-boggling to me. And so what does that mean from a practical sense? Well, before social distancing and COVID-19 and our being placed on lockdown, it meant going to your place of worship, however many times a week you do that. And it means that someone around you is experiencing domestic violence and no one is noticing, and that it's more frequent inside, across racial and denominational lines. It's more frequent inside than outside. So I wanted to share some information with you that I think is important. I think we have to know what to look for. And now, because of social distancing and people being in various stages of lockdown, depending on what region of the world they live in, domestic violence incidents are spiking, are increasing. It's incredibly dangerous for victims because they are more isolated. And so I just wanted to share a few facts with you, okay? So let's talk about what domestic violence is, okay? What is domestic violence? Domestic violence refers to a pattern of violent and coercive behavior exercised by one adult in an intimate relationship over another, all right? It's not marital conflict. It's not mutual abuse. It's not a lover's quarrel. It's not a misunderstanding. There is a persistent, ongoing pattern of demeaning, denigrating, threats, intimidation, emotional abuse, financial abuse, gaslighting, coercive control. And so it doesn't look exactly the same from relationship to relationship, but there are very common similarities from relationship to relationship, okay? Now, 95% of the victims of reported domestic violence are women. What we know is that men are victims as well. Now, we have videos here, we have a playlist here that focuses on the challenges that men face when they are victims of domestic violence right here on our channel. So you should check that out, okay, when you have a second. But 95% of reported cases are women, all right? And we know that women make up the majority of congregations in most faiths, okay? It's a serious problem. It's a bigger problem inside the church than outside of the church. There are lots of different reasons for that. The patriarchal setting of most religions, most faiths, the misappropriation of scripture. We have videos here on the channel that addresses that as well, all right? The challenges that women of faith experience when they are victims of domestic violence, all right? Surveys from the US and Canada indicate that domestic violence occurs in 28% of all marriages. Researchers believe this estimate is too low since most domestic violence incidents aren't even reported, okay? What are the basic kinds of domestic violence? Most people recognize physical assault as domestic violence. That's recognized, but they don't recognize all of the other ways in which domestic violence can be perpetrated in a relationship, okay? So physical assault includes shoving, pushing, restraining, hitting, kicking, biting. They may occur frequently or infrequently. Um, Usually, though, they escalate in severity and in intensity, and in how long they actually the physical assault itself actually plays out. And so it may start off with a push, and then it may escalate to a punch with a closed fist. It may progress further to strangulation. And so typically the escalation occurs. It doesn't look exactly the same, as I said, in from relationship to relationship. So you have physical assault, which most people recognize as wrong and abusive. Okay. Then you have sexual assault. And it's important to understand that even within a marital relationship, it is possible for sexual assault and for rape to take place. It's important to know that. For many, many years, people believe that, well, if you're married, and the scriptures say that your body's not your own, and the husband belongs to the wife and the wife to the husband, and misappropriation of scripture. Misappropriation of scripture. It is absolutely possible for a sexual assault or a rape to take place within a marital relationship. So, what is sexual assault? Anytime one partner forces sexual acts which are unwanted or declined by the other person. So, no means no, even in a marital relationship, okay? Um, that can pertain to the type of sexual interaction that's taking place. That could pertain to a sexual act of any type taking place, okay? And so no means no, even a marital relationship. Psychological assault includes isolation from family and friends, forced financial dependence, verbal and emotional abuse, threats, intimidation, and control over when the partner can go and what they can do and what they can wear and what they should eat and how much they should eat and when they should go to sleep. Okay, so it can become very, very, very pervasive. All right. And then, of course, there's attacks against property and pets. Okay. Destruction of property, which may include household objects, things that are treasured, things that have sentimental value, especially those things that cannot be replaced. Um, Damaging the home, putting holes in the wall, threatening the pets, uh, physically assaulting the pets. And many victims hesitate to leave, decide not to leave because of their concern about the pets being mistreated. And oftentimes, if they go to shelter, the pet is not welcome. There's no place for a pet at a shelter, oftentimes. If they go to a friend's home, maybe the pet's not able to go with them to their safe place. And so they elect to stay at home in an abusive environment because of concern about the pet. Okay. How do you know if someone is a victim of domestic violence? I think all of us need to slow down just a little bit and pay attention. Little things, do they have bumps and do they have bruises? Are they more withdrawn? Are they overly gregarious? Are they defensive about their partner? Are they overly protective of their partner? Do they become angry with you if you question how they're being treated in their relationship? And so many times a victim won't share out of fear of what the abuser will do if it gets back to them that they've been talking about what has been occurring behind closed doors. And so they may be afraid of repercussions if they share. It may be that the abuser has threatened to harm anyone in their support system that intervenes or approaches the abuser about how the victim is being treated in the relationship. And so sometimes they are sincerely trying to protect those that they love by not telling them. Sometimes they know that their support system will react in a fairly aggressive manner if they become aware of the maltreatment that they are enduring. And so, once again, they don't share to protect their loved ones and to avoid more violence or whatever. Okay. And so, it's not a very singular, uncomplicated set of circumstances. Now, you're probably wondering, well, if he's being mistreated, then why don't they just leave? Well, I just share some of those reasons. Fear of retaliation, fear that the abuser will find them, um, fear that their children will be harmed, fear that they will lose their children to the abuser. Certainly, if they don't have a livelihood, or if they haven't worked, or if they haven't worked in a very long time, um, if they have a history at all of mental illness, any kind of instability in their past, they may be concerned about the abuser using it against them and them losing custody of their children. So there are very real reasons, and sometimes financially they don't have the wherewithal. They've been manipulated into a position where they are financially dependent on the abuser. Okay, so that complicates things as well. So oftentimes, it's there are practical reasons for why women stay and why men stay in abusive situations. Keeping in mind that they're isolated, that's all a part of the abuse. Isolation is always an underpinning of the abuse. Sometimes, too, if the abuser has um, status in the community. They might be a ministry leader. They might be the Sunday school teacher. They might be the deacon. Okay. They might be the bishop. They might be the rabbi. Okay. They may be the priest. Um, Concerned about who would believe me. Who would believe me if I tell them what's occurring at home? Okay. And so oftentimes this is the case. Here's my assertion. The only way that there can be a greater frequency of domestic violence within households of faith than outside of households of faith is if those within the household of faith are complicit. And by that I mean they are either the abuser or they are failing to correct, address, hold accountable the abuser when they become aware that abusive behavior is occurring in the home. And it's really, really sad because we need to all be concerned about what happens after the homily, after the sermon, after the message, after the benediction. Okay. We need to be more concerned about that. Okay. Now, what can you do? What can you do if you suspect that someone is being abused? You can ask them, privately. Um, you can provide them with resource information. There's lots of help out here. There's lots of help out here. In the United States, you have the National Domestic Violence Hotline, you have domesticshelters.org, you have advocates like myself. We have a blog called Judah's Roar. That information is in the description box here beneath this video that you can subscribe to that, and you'll automatically be sent a template for a safety plan. Okay. And so there's help out here. There is help out here. This channel is designed to provide you with a wide range of information and to answer the questions that we are confronted with most frequently as a domestic violence advocate. What's important is your safety. Safety is paramount. And so what I desire as a ministry leader is to reach out to other ministry leaders, share this with your pastor, share it with your deacon, share it with your Sunday school teacher, with your rabbi, with your priest, and help them to become more sensitive to those who are sitting in the midst of them that are suffering in silence. They are suffering in silence. Okay, so we've been talking about information that I think is important for clergy and for congregation to understand. What can you do about it? I'm glad you asked. Here are some suggestions. Especially now that we're dealing with social distancing and so many things are happening digitally, Um, do a teaching. Don't wait until October. October is Domestic Violence Awareness Month, but domestic violence occurs every single day, every day. The domestic violence hotline gets over 20,000 calls. And so it's important that we educate people and raise awareness and raise our sensitivity to it so that we can be a better help to one another and so that we can be an actual blessing to one another. So you can talk about it. Talk about it across your pulpit. Okay? Have a digital meeting. Do a series on it. Reach out to us. We'll assist you however we can in terms of educating your congregation. All right. But please, please, please do something. Pay closer attention to one another. All right. We've been talking about what every congregation needs to know. 95% of abuse victims that are reported are women. Anyone can be a victim, and anyone can be an abuser. There are certain positions in society in which credibility is inferred. It is bestowed upon the person that holds that office, whether it's a ministry leader or a politician or a police officer or a prosecutor or a doctor or a psychiatrist or a therapist. There are certain professions in which credibility is just assumed. And many times, the partners of these people are suffering in silence. Okay? Let's do better. I'm committed to doing more. Okay? So join us in our quest to end domestic violence globally, to leave people without excuse, to raise awareness and educate so that households of faith can truly be a safe place and a refuge, okay, for those who seek to grow spiritually. All right. This is Apostle Cheryl Richardson, and we are Judah's Roar Domestic Violence Awareness Initiative. We've been talking about things that a congregation needs to know, that every ministry leader needs to know. Check out our YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe. All right, click that bell icon so you can get notifications. We upload a new video every single week. Blessings to you.